Hello and welcome to another episode of the University Dwell podcast where we talk about university life and more. And today with me I have Mr. Chukwuemeka, but I'm going to allow him introduce himself to us and tell us a little bit about what he does.
Okay, my name is Chukwuemeka Odibili. I'm a management consultant. I manage a training institute, Pistis Life and Leadership Institute. And at the same time, I'm a digital transformation expert. So I train, I help people deploy, and I also help them solve solutions in digital space.
Okay, that's interesting. Were you always, did you study in line with that, or what was education like for you?
Education and my life are two different things. My education, I studied applied microbiology and brewing. And with life, I have evolved into enterprise development, business development, branding, media consultation, interior design.
Oh, wow.
And now digital transformation.
That is very interesting. So the first thing I'll say is that every single person that has come on this show that studied microbiology
has evolved.
It's not doing what they studied. But from your brief introduction, what I hear is that you kind of have worked in different spaces.
Yeah.
Yes. And that means you're probably a multifaceted individual. And how do you manage bridging the gap between the different parts of yourselves and your different interests without being overwhelmed?
Okay, I think the foundational thing I discovered early was that I loved learning.
Okay, awesome.
That was one. 2, I loved teaching. And 3, I loved directing. So these 3 things are the only unifying factors across everything I do.
I see that.
So I'm able to learn anything. I'm like a sponge. So long as I come into the space and I want to learn it and I transmit it the same way it was taught or better. Then the teaching, I know how to make people learn what I have learned.
Okay.
Then directing, I'm able to get people to give me my results how I want it.
Oh, I love that. That's very interesting. But today we want to talk about, studying, which is in line with you wanting to teach and also learn. And the topic is coined Facebook versus Facebook. And does the internet aid or hinder education? Just a funny story. When I was in high school, everybody always wanted to go to the ICT lab.
Okay.
Because the ICT lab had the ACs and it was just cool. I could, of course, we couldn't have phones, so I could go on Twitter and do a bunch of stuff. And then in the ICT lab, they had this poster where it was Facebook and Face Your Book, and just right under that poster, I would literally be going on Facebook and not facing my book. But the internet has come, it has evolved, it has changed a lot of things, and it has helped education.
Yeah.
I was talking to the students on the show, and we're just talking about how there's literally nothing that you want to learn that some Indian teacher hasn't done a YouTube video for. But on the flip side, the internet, first of all, it's a lot of distraction. Even adults study with addiction to social media and stuff, and then there's so many other social economic problems that we have coming from the internet. So my first question is, if you weigh it, do you think that the internet has done more harm than good, especially in relation to education?
I'm midway.
Okay.
Why? Because I am a beneficiary of what school didn't teach me. So I'll tell you first of all that the internet came to enhance the possibilities of learning. And there's nothing that has good solutions that doesn't have abuse.
Absolutely.
Do you understand? So that it came right, people are abusing it, and we cannot run away from that fact. But at the same time, it's what it is, because in our days, we didn't have phones when I was in secondary school, and there were no phones. I think phones came in when I was second year in university, and before the phones, people were still doing the outrageous things they still do.
True.
The only difference is that the internet has made us more aware.
Aware of it, okay.
So what I would say is, what do you want to do with the opportunities around you? So the internet as an opportunity, what do you want to do with it? Are you learning from it? Are you enhancing yourself with it? Are you becoming more visible with it? Or you are just there to while away time? To me, I tell people, Facebook and Instagram have 2 things to them. Facebook has face and has the book.
Yes.
Instagram has instant and has the gram. So on Facebook, you are either selling your face or you are delving into the books. But I'll always prefer you delve into the books, then let the books bring out your face. Then if you're on Instagram, don't be so instant. Dig deep on the gram so that when people come for the instant, they meet you on the go.
Okay. Wow. That's
Do you
very
understand? So
interesting.
that analogy helps me tell people what to do, because I noticed that Facebook and Instagram work with analytics.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
they feed back to you what you search for. So your most predominant search
Is
becomes what you see. So at the end of the day, the question is, what are you seeing? If you don't like what you're seeing, change what you're searching. Do you understand? So you now tell yourself, if you, like me, if you come to my Instagram and you are there for a full day, you get bored. Why? Because all you're seeing is either a training here, a course here, a how to get this certification here. So you wouldn't like it if you don't want to learn anything. Do you understand?
I get that.
But there are some people that all you see is maybe 5 skits here, one diversion on this side, one diversion on the other side. So at the end of the day, you just have to tell yourself, what do you want to do? Be intentional about your life.
So I like what you're saying, and what you're saying kind of points to the fact that a lot of people try to act like they don't have agency and control over what it is that they receive. But I think it's also because people are not as intentional. So doom scrolling, you're just going, which is very important. But I want to take it to another angle, and let's talk about how, so for example, I studied media and communications, and one of the courses that we had was film production. And throughout that film production course, first of all, the class was by 2:30 in the afternoon, and for 3 hours, my brain stops by 1 p.m. I'm so serious. And I used to sit in front. I had this big black bag, and I'll just put my black bag in front of my table
And sleep off.
The course was so that it was in a way that a lot of what we were studying, there were references. So half of the time, the teacher is playing YouTube videos.
Okay.
And when I finished the school and I wanted to make my first film, I was like, damn, I should have listened to my classes. But then I went on YouTube and I found a website that had all the resources I needed, and I looked through everything and I was able to get that. And so the question I'd like to ask, especially in this time where people have so much information at their fingertips, is,
on the 6th of June, 1859, Babington Macaulay started an initiative with financial support from James Davis, Daniel Taiwo, Moses Johnson, and a few others, opening the door for the many generations in Nigeria. What are you doing for posterity? How do you want to be remembered? High School Dwell, Back to Basics, starting July 5th, 2025.
do you think that the internet and the education and information that it gives can at some point phase out formal education? Because people will say, why do I need to go to school, spend 4 years for something that I can go on a YouTube course and learn?
Okay, let me give you this illustration.
Okay.
Went through school. I could draw a DNA on 2 pages for any exam, and I will not miss any carbon bond and all that. But I never saw a DNA. And somewhere in the definition, as a microbiologist, I was supposed to be called a genetic engineer, which means I could manipulate DNA strands that I never saw. Now, in this age, my child was 4 years old when she showed me how to do an orthopedic surgery on YouTube Kids. And when she saw it, it was so simplified that it piqued her interest. So tomorrow, if she wants to study medicine and she wants to go in line of the orthopedics, she already has a background that is making her understand what she wants to do and even simplifies it for her. Do you understand? So in the equation, what I would say is, it may not phase out completely the concept of formal education, but anybody who cannot get internet educated is going to become obsolete.
Absolutely.
Why? Because the internet education will now help to optimize your formal education.
Absolutely.
Or refine it
Yes.
per se.
Okay, I see that. So now something I always say is that a lot of our brain cells are fried. I know, I'm so serious. Like, people's brain cells are fried, including myself. Like, when I was growing up, I was so, like, my head was always in a book. I was always reading something. And now, if you give me like a PDF that's like 2 pages to read,
You get exhausted.
it's not about, I'm not reading it. I'm going to skim and scan and try and figure out the important bits. So we actually have a generation of people that do not have the discipline
Low
of
attention span.
attention and reading, and that you can't do that if you're going to go to school and succeed. So my question then now is, how do we unfry our brains? How do we get, like, when I was in school, a huge problem was that teachers were always shouting, drop your phones, listen in class, drop your phones. But even I am guilty of it. I'll bend down and just be pressing. I could be playing spider or doing something so silly, but it's so hard for me to listen and focus. So how do you think we can rewire our brains?
I think one of the things we need to do is update learning. I'll tell you why, because I'm a doodler.
Okay.
If I'm in a class and I don't have a piece of paper, I'm not learning. Why? Because in the course of my doodling, I'm learning.
Okay.
We used to see it as a distraction when we were younger. But in modern day learning, it is one of the things that they've noticed helps people keep their attention span to communicate what they have learned. So we need to also update the concept of learning so that people are not seen as criminals when they are doing the right thing.
Yes.
Do you understand? And some things are no longer being seen as disorders. I was dyslexic as a child.
Okay.
So I had issues with reading. But if I'm in a class and I listen, I don't forget it. Do you understand? And I pick spelling errors from a distance. Do you understand? So growing up, I didn't know that it was a disorder. But at the same time, because my parents didn't believe in disorders,
there's nothing like that.
do you understand? I had to be able to learn my way out of it. So there's a place of knowing what to do, doing due diligence, due research, and also helping to optimize whatever is available around kids, people who are learning, and what they are becoming. Because I've noticed that teachers are becoming stale.
Yes.
Teachers are just recycling garbage over time. It's crazy to see that what I learned in year 2000 is what they're still teaching the students in the same course 24 years later, and nothing is changing. Do you understand? Some of them are even bringing their HOD's notes that they used when they were in school to still teach today. So we need to change the culture for the teachers while we're trying to adapt the culture for the learners.
For the learners, which is okay. So how I want us to conclude is, how do you think that schools and the education system, teachers, etc., can perfectly and seamlessly blend the internet and optimize it for learning for their students?
Bring me back to the intentionality.
Okay.
Being intentional helps you know when it's time for learning, when it's time for entertainment, when it's time for personal exhibition. With that, you're able to create a balance.
Yes.
And your balance is not because you just want to manage the narrative. Your balance is because you want to be able to get specific results. So if you want to be an A student, do the learning online and offline as necessary. But if you have to be on the internet, intentionally learn. When it's time for entertainment, let it be a relaxation time, and let it be intentional too. And when it's time to be able to sell yourself, let it be a time that you sell yourself. Don't do too much of any of them, and you'll be able to get the best results.
It's really interesting. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I'm very interested in your dyslexia story, but I think I'm going to bring you back for another conversation on that, because that's something.
I'm open to it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Right.
And that is all on this episode of the University Door podcast. See you next time. Bye.